Welcome to Heat and Soul Podcast, Episode 3. Today I have Rob Blackwell with me on my side. He is he's a professional basketball trainer. So before we start the podcast, make sure to follow us on Instagram at Heat and Soul Podcast, on TikTok at Heat and Soul Podcast, and on Twitter at Heat and Soul Pod. So before we start, I want to pray over the podcast, so let's just go ahead and do that first. Lord, we pray over this podcast. We pray that this podcast goes well. Continue to help us strive for greatness, and we pray for all the persecuted Christians around the world. Let us strive for greatness for our next podcast. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, so to start it off, let's talk to him. Are you living your dream right now with training and everything?
Yeah, I could say that we are. But first of all, let me say congratulations on your new podcast.
Oh, thank you.
This is outstanding. I'm excited to be invited to be on one of your episodes, and I look forward to it. So best of luck to you from here on out.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
As far as the dream, a portion of it, the dream is big, and the dream is always ongoing and expanding. But a portion of it, yes, teaching the game, being involved with the next generation of their basketball development has always been a dream. So from that standpoint, yeah, that portion of it I am living.
That's great. That's great. I mean, you have your new facility now,
Mm-hmm.
so I mean, this is a nice facility. I mean, you have a full court. Is this professional? It's professional. Is this a nice...
Professional length, yes,
Okay.
yes. So, obviously, just been blessed that this opportunity came available and we were able to take advantage of it. So far, so good. It's been really helpful. We've been here probably a little less than 3 weeks.
Okay.
So as we spread the word and put the summer schedule together,
it's going to continue to grow.
It's going to continue to grow. Yeah.
By the way, I'm reading my notes off my phone today. We're trying something new with the podcast, so if it becomes distracting, I'm sorry. So, what led you here to this facility?
Well, just happened to see a sign that it was for lease. It used to be a Lifetime Fitness facility that I've trained in before when it was a gym. And I wasn't aware that it closed, but I happened to come by, saw a lease sign up, contacted the real estate company, and a few things happened to go the right way for us. And like I said, we were blessed to get it.
Who are some of the best players you've trained this year so far?
This year?
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of them. From the NBA standpoint, I still do a lot of work with Gordan Hayward.
Okay.
Spend a lot of time with Justin Holiday. So that
was earlier this year, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty much all season. So that pretty much is the list. But collegiately, we've had a lot of success with Eric Hunter at Purdue. So we have a few of those guys. Kevin Easley, Justin Roberts has had a fantastic season. They took Gonzaga to the wall in the NCAA tournament this year
most definitely.
at Georgia State. So quite a few. And then there's a lot of up-and-coming high school kids. Yeah.
Because you had that. Who was that really good high school player you trained this year?
Probably Miles Coleman, probably one of the better players that I have.
He's 6'8",
6'5", 6'6". He's got a tremendous future. He's committed to Purdue. He plays at Heritage Christian High School, but he's been offered some pretty sweet deals. Yeah, and you look for a big future for him.
Most definitely. Yeah. Who are some players that you have trained that didn't pass the eye test at first, but they now pass the eye test?
Well, probably the one that sticks out most is a guy named Julian Mavunga. Julian played at Brownsburg, won a state championship, was on that team with Gordan Hayward.
Yep, that was a very good team.
Went to Miami, Ohio, or Miami University, and just continued to develop his game. So I kind of met him through Gordan. We became good friends, and we had a 5-year history of training together. And right now he plays in Japan and is absolutely the best player in that country and just having a tremendous career. But again, if you watch him, he just, even that 6'8", the way he walks and moves, you would not think he was the type of player that he is. Yeah, he just, initially you would think he's an old man. You wouldn't think he doesn't pass the eye test, but once the game starts, he can shoot it from anywhere. He can put it on the floor. He's an outstanding rebounder. He's probably one of the most complete players that I've ever trained and worked with.
His sister's pretty good, isn't she?
His sister was Miss Basketball, played at Ohio State, and actually she trained this morning and left today to go to Poland because she's going to play on the Polish national team. So, just a lot of success in that family.
How long have you been training?
16 years.
how did you get here? How did you get to what led you to basketball training?
It's different. Obviously I played several years, came up short as a professional player, coached high school for a little bit, but then got into the training business where I was more of a personal trainer. And this was way before basketball training was a thing. And then it evolved into me being a basketball trainer, and I've been doing it ever since. So, I've had kids that were fifth graders play pro basketball, so it's just been a long journey, and it's been an exciting one.
So you said 16 years. So who were give me the top 5 high school players you've seen or trained, and you said Mavunga.
Seen or trained?
Let's go seen first and then trained second.
Seen, Eric Gordon was probably absolutely the best high school basketball player I've ever seen.
He would give 36 a game?
Yeah, he just was outstanding. Chris Thomas was probably right there too, went to Notre Dame. I just never seen anything like it from that standpoint. So seen, as far as guys that I've trained, Gordan Hayward's right up there, as an NBA All-Star. But again, Eric Hunter, Aaron Henry played at Ben Davis, went to Michigan State, is now in the Philadelphia 76ers organization. Kevin Easley, Justin Roberts. I mean, I can go on and on and on and on. Yeah.
So,
but guys like George Hill, Marcus Teague, it just doesn't stop.
Marcus Teague is pretty good, and you have Jeff as well.
Yeah. I've spent some time with Jeff. Yeah, but I wouldn't claim Jeff as a guy I trained. Yeah.
So you started, I remember the first time I actually trained with you was at Incrediplex.
Mm-hmm.
It was third grade, I believe. It was third grade, and we trained together for a little bit, and we were kind of on and off, and then I started to go I think it was after COVID.
Right.
It was right after COVID, and you were at that one place in Zionsville.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I started training with you on a weekly basis. Then you kind of you moved around a little bit because you were finding a place to train.
Right.
And now we were on and off for a little bit, so you and me have experience training together.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
We definitely have a history.
I mean, you train professional basketball players, so you know what you are doing when you train.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some things that you like to incorporate in your training, that you like to put in your training?
Well, for me, training is philosophy, okay? And a lot of times it gets misconstrued into the most creative drills you can come up and things like that. But for me, training is philosophy. And I have a philosophy in how the game is played that I think is helpful to young players that's coming. So what I try to teach is more of philosophy. So for kids who are in and out with me, they don't get it, okay? They get stuck on the drills, and we try to give them drills that they can take away from and still learn from. But if you're with me on a long-term basis, then you start to develop my philosophy to the game, and that's where most of my players have been successful.
Because you see the growth over time, and there's a plan that a lot of trainers have for different players.
There's a plan. Yeah, there is a plan, and it's all wrapped up into quite a bit. It's wrapped up into skill. It's wrapped up into confidence. It's wrapped up into learning how to be a great teammate. It's wrapped up into learning how to take criticism, take instruction. All of that's an ongoing basis, and that's stuff that has to be taught on an ongoing basis. It's not something that you can train with a guy today and then maybe train with him again next month sometime. So it's more of a philosophy than anything.
Do you add, let's say you have a certain player, let's say you have a 6'2" guard that can shoot the ball. Do you have certain things put into his training that you train him with? Do you have certain things you train him around for that aspect?
No. Again, it's a mentality that you train because the game is circumstantial, and they have to be equipped to deal with whatever the game plays. You might have a coach that isn't feeling you. You might have a coach that doesn't play you. You might have a coach that's defensive. You might have a teammate that takes all the shots. There's a lot of things that we have to prepare you for. And just by working on a shot or working on a move, it's not going to quite cover it, okay? If you don't get that opportunity to do that move you've been working on, then it's not translatable for you. So what we try to do more than anything is develop you to a point that it translates when it's time to play. Regardless of who's your coach, regardless of what the system is, regardless of who your teammate is, your game will be able to translate, and I think that's what we teach more than anything else.
What you said, even with the dribble moves you do sometimes, you don't even notice when you're doing them in a game sometimes, it just clicks because you do them repetitively.
Yes,
Most
yes.
definitely. And I think that is a big key to basketball. Is like it just clicks and you're just able to do it without even thinking. Right?
Because what we try to let you develop is how to counter. Because there's going to be a defender on you,
Yep.
and you can't have a predetermined path because that defender will determine, what
Where
your
you
next
go,
move
yeah.
is. That's exactly right. So more so than teaching moves, we try to develop the ability to counter and to respond and read and react. And that's why it's so intense, and that's why it's so repetitive in the workout sessions.
So you've trained a lot of players, as we talked about. What is one of your best training stories that you have, or multiple?
There's a bunch. One that sticks out is I remember starting to train Gordan Hayward, and he worked with the trainer and was really resistant to starting with a new trainer. Mm-hmm. But his trainer moved away, and he agreed to give me a chance. Okay, and I think it was 15 minutes he was going to give me. And one of the kids that I trained, who's my business partner now, was a friend of his and talked him into coming to a session.
Okay.
And so we started and we worked together, and over time we developed a good relationship, and he decided that, I was going to be his trainer.
Okay.
So we were going into a season that was going to be a free agent season from him. He was looking for a new contract. And so we started together.
Yep.
And we trained all summer. There was a lot of intricacies to his game that we were going to change. He was going to be in a situation where he was going to be the primary guy because they traded quite a few guys away at Utah. Okay. And so we trained him for that. And when the season started, he started off pretty good, but he hit a dry patch. And his agent called and said, what do we do? And I was like, send me to Utah. Okay, he's kind of reverting back to his old habits, and if he just sticks to what we worked on all summer, kid's unstoppable. So they flew me to Utah. We had 3 days to work out, and then they played OKC, which had KD and Russ and those guys at that time. And so we worked on some things and got back to what we did over the summer. And I'm sitting in the stands at that game in Utah when they played Oklahoma City, and he had his career high. He literally torched them.
I remember that. I remember watching highlights of that game on YouTube actually, because he was cooking.
Yeah, he was cooking. I mean, he had his career high. He had never scored that many points in a game in his life.
What was it? It was like 46.
Yeah, 37.
It was 37?
Yeah, it was 37 at the time, and he's surpassed that now. I think this season, I think you might be referring to. We went to Charlotte and spent some time together, and he had 41.
I remember that because you were talking 41. About that.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I thought that was an exciting story.
So what are NBA workouts like?
Just intense, but they're real specific and detailed. An NBA workout's different than high school workouts. Is we train off of film, and we train off of the analytics of the game. Okay, and so in the NBA, the games and the situations are repetitive. They run the same sets. You get the ball in the same situations. You touch the ball a certain amount of times, the same every game. And so you train for that. So it's pretty
NBA
easy.
workouts are very thought out.
They're very thought out, but they're very easy because you have an easy plan that you go in and attack.
Because it's what you do off the game is what you're training for, correct?
That's exactly right. Yeah, you look at the film and say, when you get the ball here are some options that you're ignoring. We address those options, and you can take it right into a game and make it work. So it's, they're intense, but they're very specific and they're very cerebral. I guess that's a good word to put it.
What is the best NBA game you've ever been to?
Best game I've ever been to? I'd probably say the Pacers and the Lakers in the NBA Finals.
Really?
Yeah, I think Kobe went off for like 24 in the fourth quarter, and it was ridiculous. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
All right, so we're gonna stop for a halftime heat check real quick. So what do you got on? What do you got? Some
Air Force Ones, baby. That's all. I'm old school. Give me Air Force Ones, and that's my thing, man.
All right, so
any color, any colorway, whatever you say, man. Air Force Ones.
Are you rocking with the all black Air Force Ones?
I'm rocking with the all black Air Force Ones, man, with the white bottoms.
My goodness.
But that's my thing, man.
My goodness.
That's my thing. Very rarely will you not catch me in Air Force Ones.
I got some dunks on. I think there's like the Celtic greens, actually. No, I don't know what they're called, but I think
they are. Yeah, I think
these are the Celtic greens, I believe.
Yep.
So let's just shout out Blackwell basketball. This is your brand.
Yes.
So go follow him on Instagram.
RB43.
RB43.
RBFOR3.
And then also subscribe to us on YouTube at Heat and Soul Podcast. Make sure to drop a like and comment on our YouTube and Instagram. All right, so back to basketball. We're going to have some quick fire questions.
Sure.
Warriors or Celtics?
Celtics.
Why?
No, Golden State.
Okay, I was going to say.
Golden State all the way.
I was going to say, I don't know, man. I was like, after seeing Smart, Horford going off in that first game with Robert Williams and Derek White and them combining for like, what, a total of 14 points after that? I don't think the Celtics have enough to get it done. I mean, Jason.
Well, I was happy that I thought the Celtics would
well.
give them the better series than everyone else who was left.
Yeah. Because the Nets were not going to give. The Nets weren't going to give them a series.
And Philly with Embiid being hurt, and Miami had a lot of injuries and things like that at the end of the season. So yeah, well, the game's called a little bit different, and it was a disadvantage to him. I mean, he went from shooting 12, 14 free throws a game to shooting 4.
4, yeah.
So that really hurt his game. So
LeBron or MJ?
I'm a LeBron guy.
Or you got another guy?
I'm a LeBron guy. Don't get me started.
Why?
I just am.
You like LeBron?
Love
I'm
LeBron.
an MJ guy.
You don't know MJ. You weren't even born when MJ played.
Listen,
how could you possibly?
Let's get into this another day.
How could you possibly?
We got another guy. His name's Kenny. He's not here today, but Kenny, we might have to have a sit down with him because, I mean, you're on his side about LeBron. I got MJ. I have statistics to back mine up, but we'll get into that conversation another day. All right, so we're going to go music here. Who you got, MJ or Michael? Michael Jackson or Prince?
Prince.
Really?
Yeah.
I have Prince music-wise, and then see somebody perform, MJ.
Really?
Yep.
Have you ever seen Prince perform?
My dad has seen Prince perform twice. I was not alive. I was not.
He writes music.
To see
he writes
Prince
music, plays
perform.
every instrument, virtuoso quality.
That's why I said him.
Dances,
music,
sings.
and MJ perform. I like his music better, but I feel like Prince is more diverse in what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong either way.
No,
I mean,
definitely.
You sound crazy saying Michael Jackson's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for me, Prince.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. And then, who are your 3 main artists you listen to right now?
Right now, I'm a J. Cole guy.
Okay, that's.
Okay, I'm a J. Cole guy. And I can't get off Dirk and Lil Baby.
I like Lil Baby.
Yeah, I can't get off him.
I do like Lil Baby.
You know, I like Future's new album. I'm usually not a Future guy.
I don't like Future.
But
you like Kendrick's new album? I'm not big on.
I don't want to be on YouTube saying.
I'm not big on Kendrick's album. I'm sorry. I'm not.
I admire him, a Pulitzer Prize winner, just a great artist and things like that. I think he missed with this album. I'll just say that.
All right, that's fair. I'm a Bieber, I'm a Justin Bieber guy. Like seriously, like all Bieber music, dude. I'm down to listen to Bieber music. I know it might sound stupid, but
nah, dude, that's not bad
Bieber
to say.
music. I like Baby. Yeah. Throw in a little bit of Lil Durk, but I mean, I like Rod Wave too. So I mean, I'll listen to country music. I'll listen to any type of music.
I do. I listen to everything. Yeah. I absolutely listen to everything.
That's fair. That's fair to say about me. I'll listen to any kind of music. So where do you think the future of basketball is headed, and do you think it's heading in a good direction, or do you think there's maybe some critiques that you could make? I don't know how to say that, but do you think there's some way that it's heading in a bad way and it's heading in a good way as well?
No, I don't think it's heading in a bad way at all. I think it's heading in a good way. The players are I mean, look at yourself. Players are way more skilled than they used to be.
Oh, most definitely.
Okay, so the game is just getting better because from a skill standpoint, guys play the game better. They shoot the ball better. They handle the ball better. The size is bigger. The speed is higher. They're still jumping out the gym.
And with the technology there is nowadays, you can.
It just makes it difficult. It's rare to think that anything old is better than anything new, because new comes from old. So therefore, it's done better. Now if you're nostalgic, you would think that old is better, but nothing old is better. Okay, I mean, I'm not going to take a 1967 classic Mustang over a 2023. I'm not going to do that. Okay, the thing's got Wi-Fi in it. It's got internet in it. Dude, come on. It just,
CarPlay,
I'm not going to take my phone that I can get any music on and go back to a cassette player. I'm not going to do that. okay? I mean, so we advance, and we have to understand that we advance athletically too, and therefore it's better. Now, you might have a preference, but you can't say it's not better.
So
Yeah, in answer to your question, I think the future is bright. I think it's headed in a great direction. I think it makes our young players a little more entitled, with NIL deals and things like that. And so people want more by doing less, but it's better. It's absolutely better.
I definitely think it's heading in a good direction as well. I mean, I think the game has definitely changed over the years. And I think I like the way the game's heading because I feel more free when I play. Like, I don't have to play. Like, the system is definitely free, so I'm more able to do what I want to kind of do in game than having, like, a strict system. So, I mean, I like the way the game's heading. I definitely do. So I enjoy playing basketball. But so you said something about NIL, name, image, and likeness. Mm-hmm. That's a big topic I want to hit on with you. What do you think about name, image, and likeness?
Oh, it's late coming. It should have been in place for years. The powers that be behind the league and behind basketball just make billions of dollars, and for the athletes not to be rewarded is just not fair. And so I'm glad to see they've worked out something that guys can get what they're worth.
I do like
and
name,
get
image.
a piece of the pie.
I do like the name, image, and likeness. I think as you said, it should have happened a long time ago.
Yeah.
Because you see athletes. I mean, now some athletes, like 6-7 years ago, were having to pick between social media and sports. Mm-hmm. So I mean, you had a big push. There was a guy. His name's Destroying. I don't know if you know who he is.
No.
He's a YouTuber, and he actually played college football.
Right.
And he was a kicker. So he had to choose between his social media platform and collegiate football.
Right.
And he picked the social media career, and he was a huge push for social media. And,
yeah, well,
and
I mean, and that's what it comes down to. You just can't continue to regulate in 2022, the same way you did in 1966. It just doesn't make sense. Everything's advanced, okay? I mean, TV rights have advanced, commercialism has advanced, everything has advanced, so you have to change the system with the time. And too many times we want to regulate things like we did 100 years ago or 50 or 60 years ago when it's just things are different, okay? And the regulations have to catch up.
What do you try to implement into your youth workouts? Let's say 13 and down.
They're all heavily skill-based. Okay, kids have to be good because when they're good, they're confident. And when they're confident, then we got a chance. We got a chance to live out whatever basketball dream you have. And confidence is everything. Some kids are born with it and some kids don't have it. And so sometimes if you give a kid a handle and he can handle, all of a sudden he's got a little more swagger than he had before. And that gives him a chance in my point of view. And so when you get 15 down, the workouts become heavily skill-based because the skill breeds confidence and the confidence gives them a chance.
Big key to basketball is confidence.
Yeah, it's everything.
It's the key to, as you said, everything. I mean, if you have no confidence while you're playing, you're not going to perform well. And that's the truth. That's the truth because you won't take shots.
And that's exactly.
And if you don't take shots, you're not staying on the floor. If you don't score, you're not going to stay on the floor. As you always say, like your coach gives you 3 shots. If you don't hit any 3 shots, you're coming off the floor. That's how it works. I mean, unless you're certain players. I'm not going to get into details.
There you go.
Some kids can go over 8, but I'm not going to say anything.
There you go.
But on that note, who do you think was the best high school team? I know. Who won state this year?
Cathedral.
Do you still think they were the best?
They were the best team.
Really?
Yeah, they were the best team.
What do you think about Carmel? How they recruited and everything? Well, not recruited necessarily, but they had kids. How do you think about them? Because they're a public school, and they have kids that just come into their program all across the country.
Well, the city of Carmel has that type of transients. I mean, people move into Carmel all the time. I mean, you got big companies like Lilly and things like that.
Yeah, most definitely.
When people come to town, they move to Carmel.
Because we have big, natural resources. Like places that are out here.
So they have an influx of kids, and they'll get an influx of kids, and usually they're higher caliber kids, they're high caliber kids, and things like that. So I thought they were good. They had a patch there where, their best player I think got COVID or got sick or got hurt. And they dropped some games, and they never really picked up the momentum after that.
Because once you lose a couple in a row, it's hard, especially if you're losing your best player. Sometimes it can be difficult, too.
Sure, and that happened to Westfield.
Because they lost
their best player. Braden Smith went down.
Tweaked
and
his ankle. I think it was actually against Brownsburg.
Yeah, and he actually played. I think he played on it anyway. But
Really?
And Cathedral was the exact opposite. Okay, they didn't look like much at the start of the season. And halfway, I saw them early in the season. I think their first game, and I wasn't impressed at all. I saw them again about halfway through the season, and they were pretty impressive. And by the end of the season, no one was going to beat them. They were really good.
Who are your top 3 players in the league right now?
In the league?
Yeah, NBA.
LeBron's always one of my top players. I think Steph and Embiid. Steph and Embiid. Jokic is really good. Giannis is right there.
A lot of those players you just named, they're from overseas.
Yeah.
So, do you think the overseas players are impacting the game?
I think America is impacting the overseas game.
Yeah, because you definitely have a lot of collegiate athletes nowadays that are.
Yeah, and so I think that's what's happening. I mean.
And you see a lot of these, like Luka. He literally called that league. He said this is easy.
Yeah.
He said it's easier in Europe. Which, is there more defense played in Europe?
No, NBA gets a bad rap on that. I mean, the defense is tremendous, but these guys offensively have taken it to another level. And so the defense has changed where, you're not trying to stop anybody. You're trying to take away things, and you're trying to make things difficult for players. Where in Europe, you literally can stop a guy.
Because they're not as skilled.
Everyone isn't as skilled. So you might have 2 guys that are fantastic,
like Jimmer Fredette,
and you might have 3 guys that are okay.
Like you have Jimmer Fredette. He plays. He had 72. Who's that one guy you train? He plays overseas.
Darius
like
Adams.
50,
Yeah, Darius Adams is one of the best players that I've ever seen, and a guy I've been training. Carried a 42-point average in China. Played in the G League this year. He came back to the G League, played great. But he's another story. Played at U Indy, small market guy, and to take it to the level that he's taken it. We have a lot of guys like that. Andre Owens, another guy. Yeah, Andre Owens just, motivates the whole city to play the game. He's the backbone of the basketball city here. Just continues to take guys under his wings and shows them the work ethic necessary to get there. He always says NBA means no bums allowed, and he tells guys that. And so that's where we go from there. So.
What do you think is more important, AAU basketball or high school basketball? Or do you think they're both important?
I think they're both equally important, yeah. I think the kids get hung up and think one's preferable over the other, but I think they need them all. I think they need them all, and they still need to train.
And the game needs both, I think, to be successful.
They do. I mean, they're different styles. You're exposed to a lot more competition on the AAU circuit, which is great. But there is a system framework that you learn in high school basketball that's necessary. When you go to college, okay, you got to play within the framework of what that program needs. Okay, and only play in AAU, you seem to think that the show's about you and it's about doing my thing. Well, it's about doing my thing and only that, and that's not realistic.
I mean,
you need to have that ability and you need to have that level of confidence, but you just don't walk into those type of systems all the time.
Collegiate athletes that come in or they dominate in high school, and you see them coming to college, and it's like, whoa, like it's a different league. It is.
It's a different league.
Because you're playing with, like in the league, you're playing with guys that are playing for a different reason.
Yeah.
I mean, they're trying to feed their families. I mean, you have guys. I mean, you have 19-year-old, 20-year-old guys that are coming in, and you got these 34-year-old guys that are they're playing for a different reason.
Yeah, very few though. It's a young league. It's an extremely young league. So.
But do you think like the young generation with the G League Ignite? Do you think that's good for
Yeah, because
those
again, kids who are at that level in high school should have the option. They should have the option to. They should have the option to make money, okay, or not go to college or not. They should have that option. Every other sport has that option, so they should have the option too.
I agree, most definitely. So this is gonna be like the last question. It's gonna be like a wrap-up question.
Mm-hmm.
What would be your dream gym to have? If you could build your own gym, how many courts would it have? What kind of facility would it be? Where would it be located? What would be your dream gym to have?
Being central in the city, so everybody can have access to it. Probably something with 5 or 6 courts, so that
Is that counting? Is that just a rim, or are those like courts?
Courts.
Okay.
Courts. Because I'm big on pickup play.
Okay.
And I think you still need to have a facility where guys can come in and choose up and play.
Okay.
I think everything's coached, and you don't get to develop as much because you're always playing in a system. And I think if you play pickup and 1-on-1 and 3-on-3, that always helped us. I think that put us at a level that a lot of young kids don't have a chance to get to.
Would you like to have your own basketball program, like a Blackwell, like an AAU?
No.
Why? Too much drama?
No, it's not that. I think development of the game is where my passion is, more than.
So more of a trainer, not a coaching style.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean that's fair. I mean, some coaches think they're trainers, and some trainers think they're coaches. And when you're really good at one thing, sometimes it's just best to stick to it.
I don't knock it. I know for me.
It's what's best for you.
Yeah, it's what's best for me. It's where my passion is, and I feel like I'm more helpful to the game. I coached high school basketball for a few years.
Where'd you coach?
Back in Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. And it just wasn't my thing. It wasn't my thing.
Oh, but I mean, I like to thank you for being able to do this with me. The podcast this is Heat and Soul, episode 3. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, and follow us on Twitter as well at HeatandSoulPodcast. And then check out him on Instagram, Blackwell Basketball. And what is your Instagram?
RB43, RBFOR3. Check us out. A lot of videos on there, development videos, working with NBA players, working with young kids. Check us out. Then set up a time, come see us. We'd love to help.
Well, thank you. Subscribe. Go follow him. Follow us. And we're out. Episode 3. It's a wrap.